We're doing part 2 of the refiling versus interfiling. What are the advantages, what are the disadvantages for the 485, are also called as adjustment of status application. As we already know that the priority dates have moved forward, and they have moved forward from October of 2020. And we know that there are extra 140,000 green cards available this year. That's up to September 30th of 2022, and there may be some available next year too, the extra green cards. And people are scrambling to get their green cards before the dates move back, or dates don't advance at all. A lot of the Indian nationals who've been waiting for decades, some of the people have been waiting in line, and you know that things get stuck in Texas Service Center and Nebraska Service Center. In light of the new developments of how the Texas Service Center is working, and how the Nebraska Service Center is working, and how the National Benefit Center is working, and in light of the updates that we got from the USCIS with regards to the 485J supplement, that they have given a separate address in January. We didn't know how the things are going to work out at that point of time. So we have some feedbacks on those things too. So based on evaluating the priority dates, the Texas Service Center, the Nebraska Service Center, and also National Benefit Center, in light of the 485J supplement address they have given in California, now we are doing this part 2, refiling versus interfiling. Emily, is it legal to refile the 485 application when the EB3 application is still pending?
Yeah, absolutely no problem with that at all. There's no restrictions on the number of 485s you can have filed and pending. You can have multiple pending at the same time, as long as they each have a proper basis for the filing.
Why can't you sue the USCIS? We have done NH-480s and certain other things. Why can't we sue the USCIS to get, we're not requesting expedited though, because the law requires them, these people should adjudicate in 6 months, which they're not. Why can't you sue the USCIS?
Yeah, it's definitely been tried. Unfortunately, it fails a lot of times on jurisdictional grounds. What that means is, according to the statute that created the option of adjustment of status, it's up to the discretion of the Department of Homeland Security Secretary to adjust someone's status. They're not required to do it. They created this option for you to do it, but there's no set timeline or deadline for them to actually adjust someone's status. For that reason, courts are very hesitant to force USCIS to do it within a certain amount of time. So they usually dismiss those types of lawsuits, saying we don't have jurisdiction to take this case because it's a discretionary option.
Can we not sue, saying that the Texas Service Center is so behind? My case is in Texas Service Center, and the National Benefit Center is doing fast?
I think you have the same problem, regardless of the discrepancy between the various service centers. There's nothing that a court can do to force USCIS to adjudicate applications within a certain amount of time. And there's not really any cause of action for that in law. Plus, the government, the courts give a lot of discretion to the government in how they want to handle their own doings. So they're not going to tell the government, you have to do this in a certain way. They leave that up to the government agency to decide, unfortunately.
Emily, now I've seen the situation where people first come, first serve, and your website, immigrationgirl.com, where you publicize the adjudications of each service center based on my desk though, it seems that most of the cases that are filed in October of 2021 are getting more approved, though I personally have filed more cases in October of 2020, which are still pending in October of 2021. That is, the cases filed after October 2021 are getting approved. Now, isn't there any rule somewhere that says that first come, first serve? Is there any rule for USCIS?
Supposedly that's what they claim that they're following, but in practice they're clearly not, because exactly as you said, we're seeing applications that are filed much later being approved first, and the ones that were filed earlier are just stuck in a black hole, usually Texas or Nebraska.
Emily, when we file, if we refile the entire 485 application in EB2, do we have to withdraw the EB3, or can we keep it as it is?
No, you can keep it as it is, and that's the best of both worlds, in my opinion, is to keep both going, because you don't know what's going to happen with these dates. Texas might all of a sudden wake up and start adjudicating the EB3 cases, or the EB2 case might become current first. We don't know what the dates are going to keep doing. Obviously, it was EB3 ahead, now it's EB2 ahead. it could end up flip-flopping quite a bit. So by keeping both going, you have the best of both worlds versus withdrawing one and putting all your eggs in one basket when there's no need to do that. There's no legal requirement for you to withdraw one so that you can file the other.
Emily, if my final action date is current in EB3 though, can I still file an EB2? Is it legal to file an EB2?
Yeah, you still can. It's your choice to wait it out and see what happens, or file a second one in the EB2 category to see if that later filing can get approved faster.
Let's discuss first interfiling, Emily. Especially now, USCIS has released information in January of 2022. How to interfile from EB3 to EB2 though. Is it easy to do interfile? What do we need to do for that?
Yeah, it is very easy. It just requires your employer to assign a new Supplement J, confirming that the job opportunity that supports your EB2 I-140 is still available to you. And you submit that to this new California address along with your 485 receipt notice and the EB2 I-140 approval notice. And supposedly this is a smoother, efficient process, a way for USCIS to be able to more efficiently make these transfer requests, because before that there was no procedure for it. We just had to send letters and a lot of times they got ignored. But now that we have this address, is it working? Are you getting any results from it?
We got 3 receipt notices and it's been 1.5 months. We only got 3 receipt notices out of 100 plus cases that I have filed, Emily. And zero zip approvals though with the interfiling, even though they promise that they have lots of green card numbers available, lots of things available. They encouraged us to do it. No action yet. The receipt notices are taking the same time. When we filed in October of 2020 with the Texas Service Center, it's taking the same time just to get the receipt notices. And not a single case has ever been approved yet though. Emily, if I use the EAD and advanced parole, can I still interfile?
You can still interfile if you've used the EAD or advanced parole, but you don't have the option of refiling.
And another thing that I want to let you know is that when we are doing interfiling, it is not going to a different service center, guys. It still goes to the same service center, getting the receipt notices from the same service center. So I don't know why they gave a different address. Maybe it's more convenient, but nothing is getting done for the interfiling. That's what we are seeing though. That's the reason why we're doing this session, to update it, because the previous session we did not have this address. We did not have the feedback from our cases that we're filing though. Emily, if my case is in Texas Service Center, when I interfile, do you see anything movement to National Benefit Center?
No, not at all, unfortunately. Everything, even though we're filing in California, the receipt notice of your Supplement J does not come from California. It comes from the Texas Service Center or the Nebraska Service Center, wherever your 485 is pending. So the case stays there, and we've seen zero movement on any of those cases so far.
So the most advantages for interfiling is, guys, it's cheaper, it's no filing fees, and it involves less paperwork, and your companies may support the interfiling. Some of the companies may not support the refiling. So advantages is cheaper, faster to file the case, but the disadvantage is that it may take longer time. We have not got any approvals in those things. Let's discuss about advantages and disadvantages of refiling, Emily. Have you seen any approvals that you refiled the entire case?
Yeah, we've been refiling those that were filed in October, November of 2021. We've already been getting approvals, and it's only March 2022, so much faster compared to October 2020 filings. And when we're refiling, because the EB2 I-140 is already approved, it's a standalone 485. Those are mostly going to the National Benefit Center. We're getting the receipt notices from there, and the approvals are coming from there without an interview being required.
Can you refile if your underlying EB3 is still pending?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. No problem with that, because you're now on the basis of your EB2 I-140. So as long as that priority date is current, you can file with that 485 if you've continued to maintain your non-immigrant status after the first filing.
If you have used the EAD and advanced parole, can you refile the application?
Not without taking some additional steps, because you have to be in a non-immigrant status at the time you file your second 485. So if you've used the advanced parole, for example, you may need to travel to Mexico and do the margarita switch that we've talked about on other videos where you're using automatic revalidation to come back in to get back into H-1B status or back into H-4 and then be able to file the 485.
Refiling definitely is going to cost you more money. The filing fees itself is $1,225. Lawyers may be charging you money for filing it too. Of course, it will be much higher than that of interfiling. And when you refile, though, you have to file the medicals again. It's strongly recommended to file the medicals again. They are taking the biometrics that will be, if your biometrics are already done for EB3, they are using the biometrics of EB3 to EB2, which is a great advantage before they approve the case, though. We're also noticing that when they approve the EB2 refiling case, they're administratively closing the EB3 case, though. Now, previously when we presented, though, we said there may be an RFE that will be issued whether you want to go for EB2 and EB3, and you have to choose one of the options and withdraw the other one. That used to be the normal practice, but the National Benefit Center is doing quite differently. They are approving the EB2, and they are actually they're approving the EB2 at the same time they're administratively closing the EB3 application without issuing any RFE at all.
One of the other disadvantages of refiling to be aware of is AC21. When you file that EB2 485, your 180-day clock starts over again. So if you're considering a job change with the hot job market right now, that may have to be delayed for 6 months before you're able to make the switch.
And if your child is nearing 21 or have completed 21, you're already locked in EB3. If you're filing an EB2, you have to make sure that the child will be locked in EB2. Otherwise, you will be in big danger, especially the aging out kids. Any kid who is about 15 years plus, then you have to be very careful before you file under EB2 refiling application, though. Your company may or may not allow you to refile the entire application. You have to check with the company. Emily, can I file 485 refile myself without going to the company?
No, because it does require the company to sign that Supplement J. You do have to have your company's blessing in order to file a second 485.
You recommend filing EAD and AP Advanced Parole again, Emily?
Yeah, there's no harm in doing it because there's no additional cost involved. So I think it is a good idea to have that. Now, is the second EAD and AP ultimately going to be approved? It's anybody's guess. We've seen many cases where the second EAD and AP do get approved. We see some where one person gets it and the other spouse maybe doesn't get it because they say you already have this benefit, you don't need a second one. And that's fine too. There's really no harm in doing it, even if they don't ultimately get approved. The whole goal here is to get hopefully out of the Texas or Nebraska Service Center, get to the National Benefit Center, and have that later filing date, which tends to have a faster processing time.
Another disadvantage for refiling is that if you have already EAD and Advanced Parole under EB3, though, you may not be able to use that. That's may not be able to. There are certain things. If you use that, they may consider you under EB3. That's just a perception. We don't know how the USCIS is going to interpret if you use the EAD, but that's just an advice that you should not be able to. You may not be able to use the EAD and Advanced Parole. Emily, if my company allows, can I go to an outside lawyer to file the 485, refiling the 485 application?
Yeah, absolutely. It does not have to stick with the lawyer that filed the I-140 or the one that filed your first 485. It's up to you to choose your own lawyer as long as the company is okay with that.
Now, if I have EB2 485 and EB3 485, can I travel in two lines at the same time?
Yeah, and that's the big benefit, is because we don't know what these dates are going to do. If they end up flip-flopping again, EB3 may be more advantageous, and so it's good to keep that one going as well as having the EB2. So whichever one happens to come up first with that visa number for you based on your priority date, you can take advantage of it.
Emily, what if I file the 485 under EB2 and wait for 180 days, then I move to a different company? Can I file a 485J supplement for both EB3 and EB2?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that at all. Because at that point you meet the 180-day requirement for both pending 485s, and you can submit, I would submit 2 supplement Js, one based on each pending 485.
Any other questions? I just want to go over with the data, guys. In the last quarter, that is ending in December 31st of 2021, though, the USCIS adjudicated approximately around 33,000 cases were being approved from the National Benefit Center for the employment-based adjustment of status, though. By the end of the quarter, they had only 62,000 left, though. So if they go in that pace though, probably by about June of 2021, they're going to finish all the cases that are pending there. While Nebraska Service Center have only approved 3,296 applications, they still have 89,000 applications left though. If they go at this pace though, it may take approximately 6 to 7 years for them to adjudicate the case. Now, when it comes to the Texas Service Center, it's 3,232 cases have been adjudicated. 97,000 cases are still pending according to their data. If they go at this pace, it may go up to 6 years for them to adjudicate the cases. That's the reason why we want to discuss with you about the refiling and interfiling to evaluate yourself to see if you want to stick in the line or choose to cut the line and go in one more line. Anything else, Emily?
Yeah, and the other thing to point out with these refiles, there isn't a guarantee that your case will go only to the National Benefit Center. When it's a standalone 485, we do have to file it at the lockbox where USCIS tells it to, and then they will route it to whichever service center they want. Now, our experience has been with the refilings that we've been doing over the past year that they are ending up at the National Benefit Center. So we're hoping that will continue because they definitely have a better track record of approving cases faster and getting through 33,000 versus 3,000 at the other service centers in an entire quarter.
Emily, if I have interfiled with the 485J supplement from EB3 to EB2, can I still refile the application?
I don't think there's any restriction in doing that, but then it kind of becomes questionable. What's the point? Because you've already moved it into EB2.
Yeah, but what if I'm not getting into Nebraska National Benefit Center? I'm still with Nebraska or
right, yeah,
Texas
which
Service
is
Center.
why we would probably lean towards not interfiling at all and doing the refiling so that you have the best of both worlds in that case. Otherwise, you're at EB2 only. If you do the interfile and then refile on top of that.
I get a lot of questions, Emily. My priority date is current under EB3 and my I-140 is approved and nothing is happening there. I'm still current under EB2. Do you recommend refiling the entire application?
And based on all the data that we have right now, I do recommend that. That's what I would lean towards. I know it's an additional cost, additional hassle to go through that process, but the numbers speak for themselves. 3,000 cases in 3 months at Texas got approved, 33,000 in 3 months at National Benefit Center. And our own data, our own cases are showing that applications that we filed in October, November 2021 are already getting approved at the National Benefit Center, while other people who filed in October 2020, an entire year earlier, are still pending. And we're just not seeing any approvals coming out of Texas. I think practically every approval we've been getting over the past several months has only come from the National Benefit Center.
And that to the cases filed in October of 2021 or afterwards. Mm-hmm. I personally would not recommend either way to do refiling or not refiling. I would not recommend either way. Emily's saying that hard choice is to refile the entire application based on the data. I am just neutral in this thing, so it's up to your call what you want to do. Anything else, Emily?
All right, yep, I think we covered everything. Hope you find that helpful.
Yep, thank you very much.